This is Humgen. Our guest today is Muscogee National Council Representative Adam Jones III, currently serving the council in the B seat of McIntosh District. This is episode 2. We join the conversation already in progress. Your host is Duncan Davis. Okay, so kind of switching gears a little bit, since the McGirt case, there's really been only one major law that's come through. You know, we had a lot of shutdown during COVID. There wasn't a lot of activity going on. You guys continued to meet through Zoom meetings, is that correct?
That's right.
And so there's been another kind of a hot iron piece of legislation that's come through, and I guess you're the top man of the totem pole on this one, because this is some legislation that I understand you put out on the table, had some people that supported you, that had to do with the light horsemen. Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
I'd actually visited with an ex-council member, Jeff Fife, and this is legislation that he'd been working on previously to keep our light horse, give them direction. So I helped, I took that legislation and brought it before the council. We worked on that, went back and forth with the chief for a couple of weeks to make sure that we had it right. So it puts a commission in place that helps our light horse have true direction on our boundaries and which way to go.
So the legislation, as I understand it, sort of takes the light horse out from under the executive branch and makes it its own entity.
That's correct.
Is that right?
That's correct.
How will that benefit the way that our nation is administered, and how will it benefit the people?
That will help the people and the citizens because of how our nation breaks down every 4 years from chief to chief. That protects that light horse chief. Whoever's put in place won't be
a cabinet member.
A cabinet member, actually. So he could be a cabinet member, but he won't be a chief's pick. He's actually a pick. So of the commission, there will be 2 people picked by the chief, 2 people picked by the National Council, and those 4 will actually select the last person for that commission. But what that does is it solidifies that position and not from chief to chief.
So it keeps continuity at the head rather than like a new entity creating every time a new administration takes over.
That's correct.
So this actually can benefit the citizens of the nation in a long run.
Long term, yes.
Yes. So has there been much backlash over this particular piece of legislation?
There was, yes, at the very beginning.
What do you think that was?
I think people had fear of trying to take power away from them. I don't think that's not what I looked at when we were looking at this legislation. It wasn't to take power away, but actually help them with direction.
Do you think this actually empowers them, gives them a more sense of secure power?
Should.
That was the intent?
That is.
Since McGirt has been settled by the Supreme Court, what changes has it brought so far to the Creek Nation? Obviously, this is a huge victory for the Creek Nation, and obviously for the other 5 civilized tribes that are here in the state of Oklahoma. What major changes have occurred since McGirt has been settled?
Well, the changes, the Supreme Court actually ruling in favor of Creek Nation still a reservation status. That's the big thing about that. And for that to be said, that gives complete jurisdiction to the tribe. That also solidifies, I believe, that property tax shouldn't be paid to the state. The property taxes should go to the citizens, shouldn't have to pay that. Now, I can't tell you not to pay that until we actually come up with a plan, and I believe that the council is trying to work on that as well, but also an income tax. The income tax, if you work within the boundaries of the nation, or you live within the boundaries of the nation, and you're a tribal person, Any citizen of any tribe, you live within the boundaries of the nation, shouldn't pay an income tax to the state.
What about those who are non-native or non-indigenous to Creek Nation? What about their taxes?
Well, as far as their taxes, there possibly maybe need to pay a tribal tax.
Exactly.
So where do we have leverage? I believe the leverage is that knowing that we have jurisdiction, explained by the Supreme Court. So
even right now, while we're having this taping, there are people in the capital of the state of Oklahoma who are trying to get McGirt reversed. We want to weigh in on that. Do you think that's possible? Is it something that citizens should be concerned about? It's a big deal right now, and I can just based on the tax thing that we were talking about, I can imagine the state of Oklahoma is probably a little nervous.
Oh, I suppose so. But the thing is that it's not like the tribe was just now a reservation. We've always been a reservation, and they've always collected taxes off our lands. And I don't believe that's right. And I think those taxes are owed back to the nation.
So, is there a plan? Is there a plan in the works for us to be a nation separate from the state of Oklahoma that functions and acts as a nation in itself? Because, we have big cities. We have Tulsa, we have Muscogee, we have McAllister, we have, Claremore, Catoosa, we have Sapulpa. These are Muscogee Creek cities. Those are our cities.
Those are our cities.
How is that going to change?
And I'll tell you why they're our cities. Those cities are named after Creek people from back east. If you look at all the cities around within the boundaries of Creek Nation, they're named after cities that were named by us.
How long do you think it will take for there to be a transition, where the state finally yells calf rope, they're done, and we're able to step forward and say, this is Indian country, this is our country, this is our nation, and we need to move forward? How long do you think it'll be before a transition like that?
Possibly a new governor. But that to say, I know a lot of the state representatives believe, I truly believe they understand it's the ruling is with the tribe and for the tribe. To get that big of a plan in place, it won't be anything that's easy. It's a work in progress, and I hate saying that, but that is truly what the council and administration need to do, is come together to bring that to a head with the state together.
So I know the big thing is criminal activity within the boundaries, and judges are kind of scratching their head going right now, what jurisdiction do I have? What can I do? All these people are, and they're claiming to be Indian citizens, Creek citizens, and they're saying that they're exempt. How is that going to change? How are we going to get that turned around so that the nation is functioning in criminal cases and in civil cases and land cases?
I think we have to enhance our judicial system as far as helping our judges with possibly even some more judges. And there's some things to fix there too, to speed up the process. Matter of fact, I visited with some others about even possibly looking at different ways to speed up the court cases. Attorney General's office, they've manned up. They've got more people in their office. Our Lighthorse, we've added more Lighthorse. The Lighthorse Commission, going back to that should help us be able to make agreements with different agencies, and they have done that. And then we have a lot of cross-commission, different agencies, sheriffs, and cities And I can see the problem is that, it's all about the money at the end of the day. How are you going to fund that? And how are they going to fund it? Are they going to pick up, a Native American, a citizen of any nation within our boundaries and bring it to bring them to us to be tried, but they're still using manpower to do that within their city or within their county with any type of reimbursement. So that makes it tough on those guys because they don't have the jurisdiction without the Creek Nation having them cross commission. So I think those sheriff and sheriff's departments and cities will be able to work with our commission to come up with a better plan to help each other and find out how they're going to do that.
Well, if we begin taxing and we
Yes.
take over the tax rolls for the Creek Nation and we begin to be our own source of revenue, won't that sort of take care of it? Or do you think that there can be a crossover just by throwing money at judges and saying, hey, do you want to work for a Creek Nation, or how will that work? Because technically, if we say we are the Creek Nation, we are not beholden to the state, we're not a part of the state, that actually kind of topples all state employees within our boundaries.
That's right.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yes.
So we've got our work cut out for us.
Oh, yes, for sure.
So in running for seat B in McIntosh County again, do you see yourself as a person with vision? I know your marketing products for your campaign have a Bible verse on them that says, where there is no vision, the people perish.
That's correct.
How do you apply that to what you're doing? You've been a councilman now for over a decade, and you're asking to be a councilman again. We're in a different time now. We're not just talking about money to send out to our tribal communities to take care of community things. We're not talking about making our government function in Muscogee. We're talking about something much bigger with the McGirt case. How are you going to do business different than you ever have since you've been a councilman? And how does having a vision fit into your plan that's about to unfold and roll out in front of the citizens?
Well, my plan is still to be, a council member I'm one of 16 council members, so I'm only one vote. But of that, we come together, and by majority is how we work. But I think the plan ultimately would be to find that the businesses within the nation would actually pay a tax, or the taxes withheld would go to the nation. So. And I think that's a need to push forward to show our sovereignty. If you want to show true sovereignty, exercise your sovereignty.
Okay, so I have a list of hot button things. I'm just going to ask you if you're in support of them.
Okay.
Because this hopefully will whet the listeners' appetite if you're listening on the podcast or if you're listening on YouTube. We're just going to throw these out here and see what you think. Okay, first and foremost, there is apparently some COVID relief money on the table. What's happening with that, and how quick do you think the citizens could access this, or do you think that the citizens will even be able to access COVID money this time?
Well, the ARP monies came out this time, and it's American Rescue Plan. We knew the monies that we were going to get ahead of time, so we were, as a council, were prepared to, come up with a plan to try to help our citizens, because those needs are now. People are they're in a desperate need and of financial help. And last time, whenever we had the CARES money, it was only a select few that got that based off the guidelines that we set. So this time, the council, came to an agreement as a whole. Everybody voted unanimous to vote and I don't believe there was anybody voted against it, but it was to give every citizen $2,000 to help them with their needs, because everybody has been affected by COVID.
Yes.
There's no person on this planet that hasn't been affected by COVID.
So you and the council all are in agreement that the citizens need that money.
Oh yes, for sure.
So are the citizens going to be able to get that money?
Yes, I sure hope so. We actually passed that law on that appropriation over a month ago.
So how long until that's implemented? Because those who really need some money, like yesterday, maybe kind of feel like that the tribe's dragging their feet a little bit.
Well, it seems that way. But, once we do legislation and appropriations like that, that goes into administration, and administration administers that to the citizens. So when it puts it in their field, a timeline, we did set a timeline though, it's 120 days. But any citizen that hasn't registered, or any person that hasn't registered, or a child, a newborn,
it gives them a window to get in.
Gives them a window, September 30, to get their child their citizenship for them. And there's no age, there's no income guideline, age limit. It doesn't matter if you live outside of the boundaries. This is for all citizens. Those numbers.
So at-large citizens can.
At-large citizens can
access that.
Will access that ARP monies. And the thing is that those monies are given to the tribe based off of enrollment. So people are enrolling daily. So that's
Are they?
Yes, they are.
Are the numbers coming up?
They are coming up.
So about where are we in enrollment?
91,000 plus, and growing daily.
Very good. So if the Creek Nation, if we sort of draw our line in the sand and say we are a sovereign nation, which we are,
yes,
we got to get used to wearing those shoes, because those belong to us since long before the state was here.
That's right.
And if we begin to tax and money begins to come in, and we become like some of the other nations that have money, that we're wealthy, and we have more than we could have imagined prior to the gift that the Supreme Court gave us, would you at any point support a kind of per capita going to citizens to help them in their daily needs?
Yes. I'll back up just a second.
Now that you don't have that on your sheet. You can't just make that call.
But it's not about that piece. It's about saying the gift that the Supreme Court gave us. That's not accurate, because the gift that wasn't a gift. It was already in place. The
ruling was a gift.
The ruling was a gift.
Yeah.
But to acknowledge that we already had jurisdiction and we were already sovereign.
Yes.
That's where I'm going with that.
I see.
Is that it's not that they gave us a gift and say, hey, you're a reservation. We are already a reservation. They just acknowledge that, and that is actually the gift. So yes, but to the elders, yes, I think that somehow if you're a handicap or elder, that you be able to some type of monetary fund that you could help them out, if there was some type of taxation that we were to do or collect, and
you
maybe
would
set up a program.
You would support that?
Oh yes, yeah.
Okay, so there's also been other talk that if the taxation thing's a thing, and I did hear you say, and correct me if I heard you if I didn't hear you right, I heard you say that the citizens that own property here, the Creek citizens, should not be paying taxes on their land.
I'm not going to pay my property tax. Going back to this question is that I believe that we should look at bringing another team in. We had the McGirt Commission. So the Muscogee Reservation Protection Commission, it had, I think its chief started this last year, roughly right after the McGirt ruling. So roughly, it was in April. I think there was the last meeting I went to. There wasn't very much. They were meeting, but we're not making any decisions. Nothing, no laws to come back before the council to approve or change. And so it's kind of hard to hold people accountable that are volunteers and employees. So I visited with an attorney that we both agreed that Lance Morgan with Big Fire Law Firm would be the best choice, I believe, because they've already went through this with the Ho-Chunk tribe. They went through the reservation status, and so it's not reinventing the wheel. There's a lot of things they are new to do, and so we contacted them, brought them before the council. The council approved it. It actually come through chief's office. So, a lot of times it's, so anyways, it comes to the chief's office, a lot of the plan. So, also, I was trying to think of, we brought in Big Fire, going back to the land taxes. It's hard for me to tell you not to pay your taxes, but I think it's a given if the nation has jurisdiction.
Reservation status.
Reservation status.
So, do you support Creek citizens who are landowners to not pay taxes? Do you support it? Whether or not they can or not, but just from your heart to the people, are you on board with they should not have to pay taxes?
I don't believe they should have to pay taxes.
Okay. Humgen can be heard on Facebook, YouTube, and Anchor Podcasts. Humgen is produced by Ageless Digitworks, a communication and media company located on Lake Eufaula.